This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
It is emerging tonight that top officials of the Forestry Commission has been briefing cabinet on measures to protect forest reserves from the galamsey invasion. It follows damning revelations in that bombshell galamsey report authored by Professor Frimpong Boateng, the former environment minister, that showed widespread disregard for a cabinet directive explicitly banning mining in forest reserves. We are today, for the first time since the story of the galamsey bombshell broke, hearing from the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abojinapo. I will bring you details shortly. But first, what did that explosive 2021 report requested by the Chief of Staff say about Cabinet's intervention to deal with mining in forest reserves? My colleague Michael Ashali joins me with more on this. Michael, so at the time where the Cabinet issued a clear directive banning mining or giving out concessions in forest reserves, what did Frimpong Boateng, who chaired the Interministerial Committee and was a former Environment Minister, say about how that directive was complied with?
He says that a major challenge that the committee faced in the mining communities occurred in the year 2018 when the Forestry Commission and the Ministry of Lands itself decided to give out almost all of the forest reserves in the country for mining activities. Now, this was reported to Cabinet at its meeting on 28 February 2019. Now, despite the fact that Cabinet directed the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to suspend the issuance of all mining licenses and permits by the Forestry Commission, and also to suspend the licenses already issued for operation in 47 forest reserves, the directives were simply ignored and the distraction continued.
In this report, he also goes ahead to suggest that the problem that the current administration is facing with the challenge in the forest reserves was down to a policy decision taken in 2018 by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and its agencies to grant concessions in virtually all forest reserves. So there was a time, he says in this report, that there was a policy to grant concessions, mining concessions in these forest reserves for mining companies. And he says that did, quote, a lot of harm. He makes the point that this particular policy decision was contrary to the point you're just making there, that directive from the president that all mining activities in forest reserves should be suspended. So the point I was making is at the time when the president had issued a directive that sees mining in forest reserves, that this is back in 2018, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources then took a contrary policy and rather gave out concessions in these forest reserves. And he also details that they were given permits. I'm talking about the mining communities. He says almost invariably the concessions owners were not indigents, and that's an important point. They were not indigents. And they had no attachment to the local communities. They were given permits to work in the forests without any consultation with traditional rulers. And then he makes a point on authority that all the forest reserves have been invaded by rich miners who have engaged Chinese in the operations. And he gave us more about the role that the Chinese played in destroying the forest reserves because of the permits that they received.
Yes, so he says that to make matters worse, almost all the Ghanaian concession owners sold parts of their concessions to Chinese nationals who invaded the forest with heavy machinery and mined gold in the process, degraded the forest, farmlands, and in some cases even destroyed cocoa farms without any compensation to traditional land owners. The paramount chief, for instance, of Manso in Kwanta, complained bitterly about the degradation of the forest and farmlands. Now, guess what happened? Now, it says in such mining communities, the MPP may perform poorly, not because miners were unhappy, but because the indigents themselves, who are many times more than the miners, are against the authorities in Accra for denying them access simply to their farms.
I see. And that last point about the MPP's performance is important because post the 2020 elections, the MPP assessment had actually established that part of the reason why they lost lots of votes in mining communities was because of the president's fight against illegal mining. Frimpong Boateng is actually suggesting in this report that one of the reasons why they will perform poorly is not because miners were unhappy that there was a clampdown on illegal mining, But because they have given permits to people to mine in these concessions and they were denied access to their farms. That's a very interesting analysis there. The more you read this report, the more you actually discover. It's no wonder it's more than 30 pages there. Well, today, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abuja has been speaking on the matter for the first time since the story broke. He was addressing the press at the launch of the latest edition of the Green Ghana Day. Now, he says that all forest reserves have now been cordoned off to stop the galamsey invasion.
As you know, the ministry has been rolling out a two-pronged approach in restoring the degraded landscape of our country and restoring the forest cover of our country. First is protecting the forest reserves of our country. And second is engaging in this aggressive afforestation and reforestation. The protection will mean making sure that the various forest reserves of our country are safeguarded, are protected from attack of deforestation, agricultural expansion, cocoa expansion, illegal mining, all the factors which result in forest degradation and deforestation, wildfires and the rest. The Forestry Commission has put in place adequate measures, a plethora of measures to ensure that we protect the forest reserves of our country. And I want to say to the Ghanaian people that whatever it takes to protect the forest reserves of our country, government is putting in place all kinds of measures. In fact, as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a retreat and the Forestry Commission briefed Cabinet on the measures that are being taken to protect the forest reserves of our country. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue to roll out these measures to make sure that these forest reserves are cordoned off from attack or from the drivers of deforestation and forest degradation. Is that you continue to have the assurance of government and the ministry that we are discharging our mandate with integrity and transparency, with candor, and doing all we can to ensure that we keep our environment, we keep our landscape intact, and the integrity of our forest reserve is not compromised. And as you know, the various measures the ministry is put in place to deal with these matters are matters of public knowledge, and these are matters I've spoken to over and over again. And we're very focused on that, and we don't want to be distracted. The forestry sector is one aspect of the mandate of the ministry, but as you quite rightly pointed out, the forestry sector has a relationship with the mining sector, as the mining sector has a relationship with the forestry sector. So whilst we are taking these measures to green our country, we are equally taking measures to protect the forest reserves of our country. And that is the responsibility the President gave me from March 2021 to date, and I've been working hand in glove with the various stakeholders in the ministry, in government, and beyond to make sure that we discharge the assignment given to us by the President, and that's exactly what we are focused on doing.
So let's gauge the latest in these forest reserves. Erastus Asari Donko, arguably Ghana's foremost reporter and voice in the fields for Joy News as far as the illegal mining menace is concerned, joins me on the telephone line right now. This year, he's been doing a lot more work, particularly in the forest reserves as well, trying to gauge what really has been happening in these reserves. Let's bring in Erastus now. Erastus, a lot of your work has been referenced in this explosive report by Frimpong Boateng. Let's narrow down on the forest reserves. We've heard from the minister just a short while ago at the press conference today talking about these reserves being cordoned off. He also makes the point about a briefing that the Forestry Commission has now been made in the last couple of weeks to Cabinet. This year, what did we discover as far as the forest reserves is concerned?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot sing the same song as the minister. I wish what he said was true, but on the ground is a different story. The areas that the president said forest reserves are being cordoned off and that nobody is mining in any forest reserve is not accurate. When you go to Upper Wasa Forest Reserve, you find out that in 2018, that was the focus of the IMCIM, where we went in there to drive away C&J Alaska. Mining has continued until today. If you look at drone footage from that area to date, it will shock you that the level of devastation. And the main actors who are faceless are not the ones doing the mining. In fact, when you go to the grounds, they've demarcated the land and they've shared it out to Chinese miners, and they are in control, mining and taking, and these people taking cuts monthly. When you go to Apamprama Forest Reserve, the Odahon section, the Kobro section, and recently there is another section that is actively being mined as we speak. And in fact, I had a conversation with some of the indigents in that area who are being prevented from going to their farms close to that area because of the illegality. When you go to other areas, Tabosre has been mined since 2018. Currently, there are people still there who are mining. When you go along the Ankobra, the forest along Takwa and its environs, we've been there recently. When we flew the drones, there is active mining in all these areas. So it's not true and accurate that all forest reserves have been cordoned off. If the Forestry Commission will come up with its own findings, they will tell you that that is not entirely accurate.
And a lot of what you said, we also read in the report that these forest reserves are not being destroyed by indigenes per se, but mainly being done by Chinese miners.
Well, Evans, if I had the opportunity to, if it's on TV and I was going to show you evidence, I will show you evidence. And this was in 2018 when we went there, and even recently. These faceless people are not mining themselves. They demarcate the land and share it to Chinese miners. Per our laws, foreigners are not supposed to do mining on the ground, except for large-scale mining, which of course has its own issues. But you have Chinese miners we met on the ground. At Tabosre, for example, the Ghanaians that we met there and arrested at that time had concessions. They claimed that the Minerals Commission gave them the land. But we found Chinese people who were mining. At the Tontokrom area, the Tontokrom section, the Odaho section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve, where in 2021, myself and my team were brutalized by military men protecting a miner in that part of the forest. You find out Chinese miners who have been allocated parts of the forest, and they were mining actively, collecting special gemstones that we found that they said could be possible, possible minerals that we have not yet found, and they were going to do research into it. These are Chinese miners who have been allocated portions of the Pamprama Forest Reserve, and they were mining actively in there. So it's not accurate when anybody says that those areas have been cordoned off and that the Lands and Natural Ministry is doing its work diligently. It's for the cameras. But on the ground, it's a different story altogether.
Irasa Saridonko, thank you very much. And tonight there is some criticism about the role civil society is playing in the wake of the latest revelations in the Professor Frimpong Boateng bombshell galamsey report. Convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Ken Ashigbe, says the civil society groups themselves have done pretty little since these issues came to light, and he's demanding far more.
I think I'm still disappointed. I'm not too sure as a country we are taking these issues as seriously as they ought to be. This is somebody from the belly of the whale, who has made very, major revelations. And, we've not really seen any movement to this particular one. And apart from Parliament that we've heard from, the CSOs, we've not heard anything from all of them. They're taking too long, to respond. And if you look at some of the current data from the theater of the illegality, it's, the impunity is continuing. I've chanced upon some report on the water quality in the Ankobra, and the level of heavy metals that are in that. There are 2 patients that I know, one that is dead, one that is still in the hospital, and the level of heavy metal that are in their blood.
And that's Ken Ashigwe there. Well, one civil society group appears to have taken up the challenge. That's the Center for Democratic Development, the CDD. Today, you've been hearing from Dr. Kojo Asante, who is the head of advocacy there, and he has taken on the president for attempting to dismiss the report that we've been reading from Professor Frimpong Boateng as hearsay.
Ghanaians, everybody should speak up that these allegations have come. Certainly, the government cannot investigate itself. If it's a committee, we have to set up. If it's whatever we have to set up, we need to find a solution to this. But make sure that we identify who is continuing to do this thing, And this whole community mining thing it's just become a real ruse to basically do galamsey again. So even that program has to be investigated. We have to review that whole program. So for me, I really, and I'm worried that the media is like, it's like a joke. Oh, this person has responded to that person, this person is responding to that person. We are talking about life and death situations for many people and for our country. As we are talking now, people are still there doing galamsey. If we don't take action, if we don't come and say no, we cannot let our society be destroyed this way. You government, you have a responsibility. Somebody has come and said, oh yeah, people were implicated, and so you can't investigate yourself. You should set up a committee, or we should set up a committee to investigate, get to the bottom of the matter so we can progress. I think it's in our interest. Yeah. For me, I'm calling for some independent process to go into this matter. This matter it's not just today. But this report was 2 years ago. So what had been done since then? If at that time government thought it was hearsay, why is it that he kept all the committee and all of those things so functioning? Is it now that we are now coming to think that this is hearsay matters? So we cannot accept what government is saying. Somebody's personal grievances. No. That's not good enough. We need to a proper investigation. As a state that is serious will do proper investigation into the matter, where everybody will see the report. Yeah, we talked to this person, we introduced, we went to see, and this person doesn't own anything, all of those things. We want a proper report, not just a dismissing, from a cabinet minister that you or yourself have appointed to oversee the process. No, that's not acceptable.
And that's Dr. Kojo Asante there. He is with the Center for Democratic Development. I want to bring in right now the Ghana National Association of Small Scale Miners Financial Director, Francis Opoku, who joins us on the telephone line right now. Francis, thanks for your time here on Top Story. Hello, Francis.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Great to have you, Francis. Please turn off the radio you have in your close by.
Hello, Ivan.
Great. I can hear you loud and clear now.
Great.
There's a point there that Dr. Kojo Asante makes about community mining, and you are on the ground on a daily basis, your members mining, and I believe that yours is small-scale mining, so you have proper concessions. Tell me, he makes the point that the community mining initiative has now become a cover for illegal mining. Is that something that you could attest to based on what you see on the ground?
Yes, if I heard you right, Ivan, the community mining concept was created on the back of the lifting of the ban on all forms of small-scale mining, like you are aware, in 2017-2018. And the reason why there was the need for such an initiative was that it was found out that a lot of people, over close to 1 million people, are involved in these mining activities. And these people, most of them are vulnerable people, mostly the youth, who didn't have access to licensing like some of us do. So there was a need as part of the formalization process to be successful to create an opportunity for such people to also get access to mineable land. So that was how come the community mining scheme concept came about. But what happened was that when this thing came, because it was a main flagship program of the government, and then the DCs and the MDs of these mining communities were supposed to be heading this kind of operations. Most of them took the whole thing, sidestepped the institutions who have the technical abilities, the wherewithal to give them technical advice, like the Mineral Commission and the EPA. They let them out, and you go to a place, you find some of the DCs allocating land for people to do community mining without alerting the key institutions like Mineral Commission and EPA. So eventually there was a whole lot of abuse, and you find people mining close to river bodies, people mining close to roads, and then you go and check, and it is the DCE who has given them the place as community mining. So, Ivan, it is so unfortunate because it was a concept that was good.
So for what you're suggesting is that community mining has now been abused.
It was abused, but at a point, the abuse was so much to the extent that it became an eyesore. So, Mineral Commission had to step in and then Minister also at a point, they all came in and told us, look, we can't allow these things to continue. Mineral community mining, the laws governing community mining is not different from the laws and then the framework governing small-scale mining. They are basically the same. The only difference is that small community mining is meant to create opportunity for the indigents to have participating interest in the mining activities that are hitherto have been taken over by people outside their communities. Somebody will say, like it's happening today that we all have all seen. Some politicians have so much influence. You are there, then people have taken over the concession over your area. So there was a need for active participation and benefits of the indigents. So that was what the community mining was supposed to
do. Let me ask you, based on what you've told us, that's the National Association of Small-Scale Miners. Do you support a review of this community mining initiative or a possible replacement of it completely?
Ivan, the whole thing is not about, for laws, Ghana have them in abundance. It's not about, but it's about operations, it's about, implementations. On paper, the laws are good. So if whether we review it or not, and the people who are in charge will not do the right thing, it won't add up to anything.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's the Financial Director, Francis Opoku, with the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. Well, today, talking about forest, the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry has launched the latest edition of the Green Ghana Initiative. I want to bring in my colleague, James Avaji, in the studio with me on this, and you were at the press conference for this particular launch. Let's look at the figures that the minister has been providing about how many trees they've planted so far since 2021.
Yes, Evan. So the minister said a total of 31 million trees have been planted so far in the 2 years of this program. So this is the breakdown. In 2021, the government's target was to plant 5 million trees. But their data after the planting, according to the minister, indicated that they have planted 7 million trees instead of the 5 million trees. Again, in 2022, they planted 24 million trees against a target of 20 million. Now, 81% of the 7 million trees survived in 2021, but the survival rate figure actually dropped further to 72% last year.
Okay. And there appears to be a drop in the number of trees to 10 million? Do you know why?
Yes, so the deputy minister actually has been indicating that it is partially because of funding. Last year government released 6 million cedis out of the ministry's 9 million Ghana cedis budget. But this year, the deputy minister Benito Osubio indicated that government has approved only 2.5 million Ghana cedis, and we can listen to him make the point.
This year, we say we are doing 10 million. The 10 million that we are doing, as we speak now, I'll give you a breakdown of what we intend to do. The Forestry Commission, through its various district offices and their own internal nurseries, are going to provide us 3 million seedlings. The Minerals Commission, through its alternative livelihood programs, where they supply crops, cash crops like oil palm and others, are also going to provide us with 3 million to make it up to 6 million. The Plantation Fund Board, which is a fund that has been established by government through the Forestry Commission to assist in private plantation development, is also going to contribute 500,000 seedlings. We have committed, and I'll say committed donors who have also pledged 1 million. These include the churches, Rotary Club, the banks, all of them. So when you add that up, of the 10 million that we intend to plant, as we speak now, we have 7.5 that we know we have. Now, what is left is 2.5. The 2.5, nobody will donate fruit trees seedlings to you. For instance, the coconut that people were picking up, and then the mangoes and all that, those ones we will have to procure. So we know that there's a need for us to start doing a appeal for funds. We've started. Last year we were able to get somewhere in excess of 2 million Ghana cedis. This year, we hope that the pledge ones will also come to show up, and then we can get something again.
And that's the deputy minister there.